Real faith, real talk, real life. Join us every Tuesday as Joy Christian Fellowship Rongai proudly presents The Bishop's View, hosted by Bishop Ben Mburu Thuku. Set your alarms for exactly at 7 p.m, streaming live on our platforms. Get ready for the conversation that changes everything. Don't miss it.
Dear viewers, there is no deeper pain than a parent burying the child. The tragic incident from Utumishi girls that blew our minds has left our hearts heavy and a nation asking hard questions. And to every mother, father, sibling, guardian, or friend who is mourning through the ashes of this tragedy, we send our deepest comfort, love, and prayers to you. And we weep with you. But weeping is the first step. True love demands that we look into the smoke and ask ourselves, what is happening to the hearts of our youths? This evening, we start the Bishop's View with a different strategy of urgency. And we look past the headlines and just to address the deep and painful disconnection between our leaders and our children in these institutions. Join us for the 17th episode of The Bishop's View as we discuss the generational disconnection. And as usual, we are joined by Bishop Ben Thuku, who is going to take us through. Bishop, karibu sana.
Thank you very much for having me. Good evening.
Good evening to you. So, Bishop, when there is a youth crisis, there is almost always an history of grievances that were not acted upon.
Sure.
And the question is, why do you think we have this disparity between the leaders or those in charge and this younger generation?
Yeah, once again, let me just add my voice to yours and pass my sincere sympathy and my comfort to the families of the lost young lives. It's really unfortunate that we would be discussing about this issue again when lives have been lost. It feels hurting to imagine that we have lost 16 very young and promising lives. And as we go through this conversation, my hope is that this conversation will not just end here, that we will continue discussing about the disparity, the disconnection, because it's not the first time we are having to deal with the issue of fires in our institutions of learning. And I think in response to your question, there are several reasons that I think explains this disconnection between the leaders, the teachers, and the learners, the sons and daughters who are in these institutions of learning. I think one of them is cultural. I think we have cultural gaps, no doubt, where the older generation, which I think I come from, understands compliance as being when you are complying without asking question, or even sometimes blindly complying, to mean honor and respect. And while the younger generation, where you are coming from, the Gen Zs and I think the Gen Alphas, who I have in my house, they understand blind or unquestioning compliance. Many times they think of that as being a threat to authenticity. They feel like I'm not being authentic. There is lack of authenticity when I have to comply without questioning. And so you can see that we have cultural gaps there, generational gaps. But I also think the other thing is that we have institutions of learning where many times communication is one-sided, where communication is just coming from the authority, from leadership, without necessarily, many times, unfortunately, listening to the grievances and what might be being said from the people that we are leading. I think there are many, many other reasons. I think those are some of the things. Of course, we know that from a spiritual angle, that some of these things are because we live in a world that has spiritual forces that are at play, which could lead to the unfortunate incidences that we are having to deal with today.
Okay. Bishop, on compliance that you've just told us, where we have and we have one-sided communication, and surprisingly, in most institutions in Kenya, we have where if I'm silent, then I'm disciplined. But if I raise a grievance, then I'm rebellious.
Sure.
Because it is top down and no way up. How do we shift now from this silencing way of leadership to a leadership where we have a constructive dialogue?
Yeah, and I think that's the direction we need to begin moving towards, where we are moving away from that idea that because someone is in authority, because someone is in leadership position, that they cannot be questioned, that whatever they say is cast on stone, and that you cannot question it, because there is value in conversation. There is value in even sometimes questioning the rules that have been set. It's not necessarily a sign of rebellion when people are questioning. Sometimes when there is that constructive dialogue, things can get better. And I think we need to ensure that we have as many channels where people can air their grievances. In our institutions of learning especially, I think it's a high time we have many channels, maybe digital channels, ensure that people are heard, people can air their grievances and their concerns, because when people know that they're being heard, we will have, in my estimation, we'll have lesser cases where we're having incidences like the ones we are dealing with as a nation.
Bishop, and Bishop, I believe in most cases there is intelligence and some foreseeable instances of these things happening, but mostly the teachers or the people in charge tend to dismiss these things because maybe you see these kids are growing and some demands from them may be unrealistic to the old people. What are the dangers of dismissing the anxiety and frustrations of this younger generation mostly?
I think one of them is the issues of like what we just dealing with, the unfortunate incidents where we have school dormitories being banned, and as we have already said, unfortunately having to lose lives. Those are the outcomes of when the people feel like they are not being heard, that their grievances don't matter, that they have to blindly comply, and that if they ask questions, then it means it's a rebellion. I think these are the outcomes we will continue having, and I pray that there's going to be a shift. That's my hope, that we are going to have a shift where leaders and teachers and even parents at home are listening. I think we need to have more listening. We need to have channels of listening and dialoguing with the people that we are leading, if it's in school institutions, because there are reports that there are actually red flags already. There are warnings already that there were plans to ban the dormitories. So ignoring those warnings can result to catastrophes that will leave us more wounded than when we are making effort to address these warnings. And even when these warnings are not heeded to and nothing happens, we will raise a generation that feels that their opinions don't matter. We will raise a generation that is disconnected, detached from the older generation. And I think that's not the direction we want to take. So my insistence is that we need to have more listening. We need to listen to, even though there are demands sometimes, because there are some of them, as you are saying, they might be unreasonable, even maybe unrealistic demands. But there has to be a way where people feel that they are being heard, that they are being listened to, and not just being ignored, and that their concerns do not matter.
Thank you, Bishop. And as we finish, I want you to talk to all the stakeholders who are watching us, starting from the parents, the teachers, even the people who take care of these students in school. You give them a pastoral advice on how they can create safe spaces for these young people to be heard, so that the pressure does not boil over again.
Yeah, sure. I think when something like this happens, our default setting is to blame, to easily blame, that these are criminals, that these are murderers, is to blame parents, is to blame teachers, leaders. And while there is no win-win in this situation, in my view, I think we can have one side winning and another side losing. It's either all of us are losing or we are winning together. And so my exhortation, my advice from a pastoral view is that we need to ensure that people are talking to each other, that parents are talking to their children and listening to them and talking to each other from homes, so that we are restoring humanity right from our homes. We are developing values among our children, and showing them that sometimes they would ask for something, and even if you're not able to give it, we have heard them. So conversation in schools, realizing that we are either winning together or we are all actually losing. The incidence of these 16 girls is a pain that touches all of us, and it's an unfortunate thing. So I pray that in our institutions of learning, that the leaders, the administration, the workers, the teachers will learn to listen to one another, so that we can move away from these kinds of unfortunate incidences. And we once again pray for comfort and peace to the families that have lost their loved ones, and hope that we do not need to have this repeated again, that people will talk, and that there will be more conversation happening. And we also need to continue praying, because some of these things are just beyond what can be explained. Let's pray that we are not losing lives, that people are listening to one another, and that this will not happen again. Yes.
Thank you, Bishop. And to our viewers, thank you for staying with us, and we wish to see you in our next episode. Thank you so much.
Thank you.